You wouldn't believe that a sports management intern would get his first and only college win, but sometimes the impossible becomes possible. We were playing against a team called Bridgewater College. They were a very tough opponent, and we give them props. We played against another team a day before called Methodist University, and we split off in 1-1. We then knew what our job was, and that was to beat Bridgewater College. You may be asking yourself right now, how on earth did you get your first ever college win if you were an intern? Well, here's that story. During the fifth or sixth inning of the game, I can't really remember which one due to the adrenaline that happened afterwards. There was a bang bang play at first base. All of our guys thought he was safe. The runner beat the throw on a short bobbled ball by the shortstop. He beat it. His foot was off the bag. Everyone thought he was safe, but clearly the umpires did not see it that way and called the runner out. Our head coach, Dan Bartolomeo, decides to go run up to the umpire and talk to him and ask him to change the call around because it was not the right call. The umpires then huddle up to discuss the call. They ruled in favor of the other team and that our runner was out. At this point, Dan had had enough and started running up and started screaming to the umpire. As Dan ran up there, I started thinking in my head here, how on earth is he going to get this call overturned? And the worst case scenario in my head was, what happens if he gets ejected? During this time, we're all sitting there. This talk goes on for a good solid 5 minutes. And we're all sitting there going, what's going on? How's this going to end? So Dan finally comes back after his 5 minute talk. Well, I sit there and talk to him, ask him what happened. He just said the runner's out and that they made a bad call on it, and that we're just going to play the game. The umpires were still huddled at this time. Then the head umpire comes over to Dan and says that, and I quote, "You have been ejected from the game for touching me. Please leave." And then Dan goes off and starts yelling and screaming. I have never seen Dan this angry before in my life, and I didn't know what to do. I was scared at this point. So me being the scared person I am, I go over to our assistant coach, who is now our head coach, and Jerry Gorman, and I ask him, what do we do? He goes, this is our show now. We have to show him what we can do. We were down by 2 runs at this moment, and Joey then tells me to go grab our lineup and make sure that everything is in order, make sure that we have the right people in the right spot to see if we can win this game. So I do just that. I grab our lineup and I make sure that everything is how it's supposed to be in the way that it is. It was. We got our switches in that we needed to make, and sure enough, we ended up winning that game 9-4. So after the game was all over and said and done, our hopes were high, and we were riding that morale all the way to the bus. It was a great day, great game, and we were just so happy to walk out of there 2-1 against two very good South teams, and then going up again to play against the number 25 team in Shenandoah University. So we get on the bus, we all have our breaths, we have realization that we just won, and we're all sitting there, we're all cheering and happy. Dan then's on the bus, he then says that he's sorry for his actions that he had, that he is sorry for the way that he treated everyone and that he didn't want to do it again. The last thing he said was, and I quote, I want to thank Mike Diani, our pitching coach, Joey Gorman, who was our assistant coach, and Brian Raymond, who was our intern, on their first ever college win. At that moment in time, I looked around and go, wait, really? Did I just win my first ever college game? And everyone's looking at me going, yeah, you did. If it wasn't for you, none of this stuff would have happened. At that moment, I was just so happy to hear that I actually did something to help produce a winning record. We were now 2-1, like I said, going up against another strong opponent in Shenandoah the week after. But at this moment, I was just sitting there so happy as I could be, trying not to scream of joy that I did something, that I won my first ever college game. It was one of the best moments that I had and one of the best experiences that I had in this internship. It was a great time. Everyone was with it. Everyone was fired up, and everyone loved every moment of it. It was just a great experience, and I would never change it for anything else in the world.